being able to find a high volume of ideal people who will want what you have, can afford what you have, and are willing to commit to what you have. And it is also then making sure you can sell it, which means get to the yes.
Welcome to Blueprints for Brilliance Coaching Insights, a podcast by coaches for coaches. Our guests share their hard-won wisdom to help you grow your coaching business and create a life of success. So get ready to unlock the blueprints to your success. Thank you, everyone, for joining me today. I am grateful that you are here, and I am also grateful that we have Christine Campbell Rapin. Her company is Clear Acceleration, Inc. She is a business mentorship coach. So welcome to the program, Christine. We're excited to get to know you.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, lovely. Okay, so first question for you is, how did you become a business mentorship coach? Kind of what was your journey to getting to where you are now?
100% honest, I never imagined that I would be mentoring business owners in a formal capacity, running a consultancy business that's global. I have always lived in the world of business. I've supported more than 400 companies to create $1 billion in revenue. And what that meant to people who were starting to play in the world of entrepreneurship is they kept inviting me for coffee and glasses of wine. And they're like, hey, you live in the world of business. Can you help me navigate the world of business? And I kept saying to them, I'm watching you do the hokey pokey. Like, business is not complicated, but you are making it super complicated. And let me tell you how business is run. Let me tell you how you find clients. Let me tell you how to do this. And they'd be like, wow, so glad we saw you. And then inevitably time would pass and they'd come back and I'd watch them. I said, we're still having the same conversation. And eventually people said, I'm having a hard time applying that real basic logic that you shared. And I'd love for your support. And I said, well, I've got a full-time job and I was newly married and had bonus kids and all new things going on in my life. Time was not super abundant to new things. And people kept saying I would pay for your services. And I was like, I don't know how I feel about that, because when I observed what I saw in the business coaching space, I was like, I do not want to be in that space. Wake up one day and just go get certified on knowledge. I have been in the world of business from solopreneurs to the biggest companies on the planet. And I've been on fire. I've stood on a lot of landmines and I've had some really good success stories. And so I wasn't really comfortable stepping into it, but the issue kept being asked. I'd like to pay for your services. I'd like to find a way to make that work. And I went to a coach who I did really respect in the coaching space, who said to me, pay attention. I think that you would bring a great business expertise to the marketplace. I think there is a gap in the marketplace in the business side. And I think you should answer the call that's being asked, say yes, and do that. And I sat with that for a while. And eventually I was in a conversation, it was actually a podcast, with somebody in my network that I knew in a business community who was asking me questions and said, no, I think you misunderstood. We'll record the podcast later. I want to hire you. I have a credit card. How much does it cost? And I was like, I guess I have my first client. And that is how it started.
That's fantastic. Oh my gosh, I love that so much. Yeah, I'm glad you answered the call. But yeah, when people start asking you and start saying, I'll pay you, and then they actually do, yeah, you're in the right place.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about, you said, I didn't want to be in the business coach space. Why is that? I'm curious.
It just didn't occur to me that people would pay for me to do that. And which seems like a really obscure thing now when I look back upon it, but I didn't know it was a thing. And I truthfully never thought I would build a consultancy. And when I realized what was really happening and I started to observe in the marketplace, what I really saw was that there was so much shiny object syndrome. And there's so much from the business coaching space, particularly, this is the one way you do this. And if you don't do this and get the same result as I did, it's your fault and you're the problem. And I was watching people get sucked into that lie. And I was like, there is not one way to grow a business. If the foundation isn't working, you find another way. You adjust the pattern and there's always a solution. And someone said, you can't go in and play on the foundations. Nobody wants to play there. They all want to sell a sizzle. And I'm like, I will be the substance. And if you need me to sparkle on occasion, for sure, I will go do that. But truthfully, I want more people to win and they're going to go broke on this pathway because there isn't one way. And it's not on you if it doesn't fit you. And I actually think that's poor mentorship. If somebody can say, well, this worked for me, the problem's you. I just think that is false. And too many people were getting caught into that and burning through cash, capital, mindset, and their belief in what they were starting. And I wanted to help provide a different solution.
Oh, well said. You are the substance, but you're totally right about the shiny object thing. And, you're going to make $1 million in 24 hours. Like, No, you're not, unless you're spending
Yeah.
X amount million in ads spend and you have everything down your messaging.
Well, and go sell a $47 thing and you think that you're going to make all this money. I said, do you know how many things you have to sell at $47 to make this money math work? It doesn't make sense, but they're like, but that's what I observed the gurus. And I'm like, the gurus have a very different place that they're starting from. And the biggest thing where I coach on now is you have to find your next buyer. You have to get really clear who the next buyer will be. And that's not the same as your current buyer. It's not the same as your past buyer. And that's the problem. And you're like, if you've never had a buyer, and I'm like, you can't think you know. You have to have certainty. And in order to do that, then you build this audience of buyers. And eventually, sure, you could sell a volume game, but you have an invert, and that's where the shiny object is. It's like, I'm just going to launch this and hope they'll come. I'm like, that's a Kevin Costner movie, guys. Hope is not a business strategy. You don't field the dreams in and hope they'll show up, because trust me, they don't.
No, they certainly don't. Oh, yeah. I love that. Who is your next buyer? So tell me, how long have you been doing this? And tell me a little bit about the type of people that you work with. Are they small micro businesses? Are they, you've obviously worked for all kinds of businesses before.
My heart's base is in the emerging entrepreneur. So that is everyone who's from solopreneur to maybe teams of 10, and even maybe transitioning from some contractor support to maybe a full staff of at least one or two people in the group. I'm not saying business empires. And from a revenue perspective, I always say, typically they're under 5 million. And there's a big difference between how you build a business to the first 6 figures, to how you build it to the 500,000, to how you build it to the first 1.5, and from 1.5 to 5. It's a different game. And what gets you to the first place doesn't get you to the second. And that's when I think the coaching world is broken, because they're like, well, I told you it worked at this level for me, so you must have the same pattern. And it's like, no, you have to go back to your foundations at every different level. And for me, it is service-based businesses. And they're typically saying one of two things. If they've already had a great successful journey and they're like, I think I hate this, I'm going to burn it to the ground and I want to start over. And they're going, I don't know how to start over, but that's what I think I want to do. That's typically one type of client I serve. And the second one is somebody who says, I've had some success, but I feel like I'm in a drought. And I call it a sophomore slump. And I said, you're thinking it was an election, or it was the season, or it was the fact that the market's changed. The market has not changed. I've been in the business world for 30 years. The market has not changed. The gurus are selling you something at $47. Pay attention. What has changed is that you have to learn the skills, and it is important that you have the foundations now more than ever. It's important that you show up as a human now more than ever. And it's important that you truthfully get really clear on the small tribe of people that you're looking to serve, because you are not going to be for everybody. And the thing that you get paid for, I work with service-based businesses, is your expertise, your opinion, and your ability to predict and forecast and ride through a future that's not yet here. And people will always pay for that.
Wow. Well said. I think you maybe need to run for office, possibly.
Could you imagine? I take everybody to business church.
That's right. There you go. So talk to me a little bit about, like, if somebody comes to you and says, I'm thinking the second scenario that, I've had a little bit of success, but I'm not sure how to get me to the next level. How would you work with them? I mean, do you have like a process? Do you do just business like setup, or do you help them with their marketing? Talk to me a little bit about all of that.
Yeah, so I think that there are 5 business foundations every business on the planet needs. And that's everything from, a hobby to a big conglomerate. And so the first thing we do in any new client who is just in that inconsistent stage is we look at the first 3 in a really deep way. The first is, who is your ideal buyer? So we are really getting clear on who we're searching for. And then we're going to build a marketing strategy, which is, how are you going to move somebody from curious to paid client? And I think the challenge is a lot of people don't have any strategy at all. They think the answer will be a tactic. I don't care if you want to use SEO or marketing, ad spends, or speaking or networking. I said, the tactic doesn't matter. If you don't have a plan to move somebody, typically 7 to 20 steps, that means at the end, they see you as the must hire. We have a gap to fill. The third thing I really work with my clients around is you have to shift from being the likable expert who spent all of their time educating to positioning yourself around an offer that is a result-driven outcome where you are seen as the must hire. And so we always work with clients on those first 3 foundations. And so it is a mix of marketing and being able to find a high volume of ideal people who will want what you have, can afford what you have, and are willing to commit to what you have. And it is also then making sure you can sell it. which means get to the yes, predictably, profitably, and ideally frequently, more frequently than your inconsistency is in pattern right now. And then we deliver it so that we can hold the standard. And so for me and my expertise, it is actually the connecting of the dots that I really help clients get, because I want the outcome to be an engine, a beautifully boring business that supports your life goals. And that's what business is. And a lot of people think it's just constant creation, constant sizzle, constant sparkle. And I'm like, in its boringness, yes, but I want you to have stable cash flow, consistent clients. I want you to know what to focus on. And I want it to be simpler than you're making it. And so I always work with clients on those first three foundations, and clients do that in one of two ways with us. They can come through a group program where we will really dial in their marketing positioning, their offer, and building the confidence to lead the offer to a successful outcome. Or they can retain us as a private client, in which case we also will help them with their leadership of their self to do what's required, not just what they want. Leadership of actually supporting more clients to get the results, because the first step is saying yes, but that's not where the journey ends. And it could be influencing vendors, contractors, staff, advocates, because we're starting to speed up the movement. And the last piece of the puzzle is business math. Everything is about the inputs and the outputs. And you've got to be able to have a good visibility of not just, I have a business, equally important, I run a business and I treat it like a business and I know where everything goes. You don't have to be the expert. Please don't be your own accountant, but you have to know what questions to ask, because if you need a course correction, sooner is better than later, or you'll run out of runway.
Yes, we don't want to run out of runway. That would be very bad.
Very bad.
That's awesome. A beautiful, boring business. That's what we want.
That is what we want.
We
I tell
always
people
say-
truthfully, whatever capacity you have for business, you know, in my first business, I was working a side hustle that was 1 hour a day. I always say this thing: your goal is to get to 80% of capacity, which is bread and butter. Because at 80% of your available hours to get the revenue you want, to get the clients you want, you still have the ability to flex an extra 20% to get to 100, which could be an extra client. It could be an extra opportunity. It could be, I want to take the month of X off because it's the thing that I want to go travel or do your own life. But you still get to 100% and don't burn yourself out. And if you're not at 80%, you really must build your engine. And the engine is everything, because it's not just about service delivery. If you don't have anybody to serve and you're not sure who you're looking for, you have a really expensive hobby and you are doing the hokey pokey. 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And I would rather to see you win long-term than watch you dance a weird kid's dance. Like, seriously.
They're turning themselves around and around and around.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I agree. There's so many people out there and they mean well and they want to do good things, but they end up spending a lot of time on social media, you know, chit-chatting with people. And if you don't get back to what is the strategic plan, then you're not going anywhere. You're not making that right foot in.
100%. I think the biggest thing that people will get hit by a 2x4 in the journey of building a business is selling is not optional. And I have so many people I know, and a lot of coaches, you know, it's not talked about as black and whitely as it needs to be. Your job every single day is to sell. And that means movement. It doesn't always mean money moving hands. It could be moving towards a direction, moving towards an experience, moving towards I'm building trust, but you have to curate that intentionally every day. Selling is not optional. Like, you're like, I don't want people and I don't want to sell, but I want a business. And I'm like, I am sorry, but you can't. And yet, unfortunately, there are people in the marketplace who's like, yeah, you can just do the marketing. I said, what happens when you have the lead? They're going to need to talk to you. Even if it's automated, and I'm not saying automated is good, it just is an available option. But you have to be able to have a conversation with somebody. You have to be able to influence people, and you're always going to be in a people business. And your measure is truly, can you sell and get your head around, I need to, I enjoy the benefits of this happening.
Yeah,
So
I love
make
that.
those phone calls.
Yeah, make those phone calls, right? It's so interesting because a lot of people want to hide behind the messaging or, you know, I'm just going to post out and say something nice versus, picking up the phone and talking to people.
Yeah, you end up as a likable expert. And the truth is that is not how you will get paid. Even in really traditional businesses, which are selling education. So whether that is a course creator, whether that is some kind of formal educating business model, even that, let's just be clear. People are paying for the results, not for the experience of taking education. There's an outcome. And The outcome is what drives everything, and monetary gain moves everything. If you want to get healthier, if you want to get wealthier, if you want to have more spiritual abundance, everything comes back to an exchange of value. And whether people choose you or not comes down to whether what you're offering has meaning to them. You have to be selling. And you cannot simply post on social media. That is not an offer. I mean, I could have a soapbox moment. Oh, right now. Let's just be clear, peeps. A post on social media, buy my stuff, is not an offer. Social media is about awareness. I had a guest of mine on my most recent event in October. He said, Instagram is about awareness. You build the relationship on the social media platform and you sell in private. But let's be clear, guys, you are selling. I was like, to the rafters, please.
I love that. So tell me a little bit about the events. Now, do you put on events or
I do.
Are you a speaker at events or both?
Both, actually. So I do run my own events. I run 2 main events a year, and they're under the umbrella of Turn On Your Client Waterfall. And my belief is that every waterfall starts with one drop. And it is the compound effect of one drop added together that will create this beautiful, inspiring outcome that has the potential to really change the trajectory of the landscape. And so in that series, we have a session that is all about the belief that you need to find higher quality and bigger volume leads, which is marketing. That's the first piece of the puzzle. So many people think, if I could just sell marketing and have a great business, until you have the leads and don't make any sales, which will lead us to the second piece of the puzzle, which will be, we're going to talk about relationship selling and help you actually skyrocket your conversion, get more yeses. And then I say, I want you to do this not just once every blue moon. I want you to have a real predictability of it, which is the mindset of a bigger business, the mindset of I can deliver what I promised, and the systems and support to have a very high standard of delivery. And so those events, I said, are 3-part series that we run throughout the year. And then, yes, I am a very active speaker. I want people to hear about the substance, and I want them to embrace doing what's required to get what you want, because it isn't enough. And I think a lot in the speaking world right now is about, I would say almost airy-fairy dreaming it. And I said, I love the dream. I mean, I help people build empires. I love the dream, but we must get clear on the actions that are needed. And we must have support in place, which is what my programs and services are, so that we can walk with you, because the dream does not happen in inspiration alone. The rubber has to hit the road, and you do not have to do this solo. In fact, you were not expected to.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's funny because we have systems for our clients as well. And it's not sexy and it's not something that people necessarily want. And it is the boring part, but it's necessary. Otherwise, you're doing things the same thing in 10 different ways and getting different results, and you're not as productive as you could be. And we also help people hire VAs, but we always have a system for that, so that you're not just finding someone. Because we have a lot of people who come to us and say, oh, I outsourced to a VA and it was a horrible experience. It's like, yeah. Did you spend a lot of time looking for the right person? Yeah. Did you spend any time onboarding and training them? Oh, no, I didn't have a plan for them.
Did you set any expectations of what was required? Did you coach and guide them to a higher standard? Because I think the funny thing about hiring, whether it's a VA or anybody in your business, is please always remember they didn't start the job with the expectation to suck at it. If they are struggling in their business or in their job, that is a responsibility that we haven't supported them well, because their innate desire is to be rewarded for doing a good job. Beyond the paycheck, people want to say, I felt good about contributing to this success story. And so I always say to people who, when we're talking about hiring, when we're moving our business, because availability of capacity should become an issue as your success grows, it is, let's set people up to succeed. And that requires you to be a good leader. And that's why leadership is, in our private clients, I said, is pillar number 4, which is how will you lead yourself? And to your point about what is not sexy, it's the bread and butter. It is the results that are sexy. So you have to fall in love, not with the result, but with the process in the becoming to get the results, because it is not just about game day. It is about all the things in the training and the actions and those one waterfall droplets at a time that lead to a very good, stable, boring, successful business. And that should be the goal. It's not enough just to create. It's about value exchange.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, I know there's a lot of people listening who are going to say, I need to reach out. Where can I find Christine? So can you tell people what is the best way for them to reach out to you?
Yes, it is super simple. You're going to find me at my name. It is Christine Campbell Rapin. You can find me at christinecampbellrapin.com. Last name Rapin, and Campbell, just like the soup, Come find me there and choose your own adventure. Let's get connected.
Ooh, I love that. So we will put your website address in the show notes so that people have a nice, easy way to find you. And my last question for you is, if you could provide one tip to make the world a better place, what would that be?
I think we talk a lot about the know, like, and trust factor in the world of business, but there's a pillar that's missing. You need to care. And I think right now in the world, people are craving humanity. You need to show up as a human, and your business will move when you simply decide, I will care. And that's not been the heritage of business. We've taken the emotions out of it. We've taken the humanity out of it, and we've automated the albazoozles out of it these days. Caring is a superpower. Please care more.
Beautiful. Well said. Well, Christine, this has been the fastest 20 minutes I think I've had in a long time. So thank you so much for coming and for sharing your expertise and for getting us all excited about having a boring but yet successful and profitable business. Thanks for joining us today on Blueprints for Brilliance Coaching Insights. We hope you're leaving this episode with inspiration to take your coaching business and your life to the next level. If you found value in this episode, we would love it if you would subscribe and share it with someone else who you think might benefit from hearing it. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next episode.